listen. You listen. You are all the people who are doing the memes today. I am the teacher. You do all the memes and heckle me, and I'll cry in the corner, okay? Hello everyone, I hope you're going well. The dog ate your homework? I believe it. I believe it. Oreo has definitely if I was in university, Oreo would have definitely eaten my homework once, and I would have been like, yeah, I know. It sounds ridiculous, but my dog really did eat my homework. Here's a picture. Here's my dog. He's dumb. But hello everyone. I hope you're going well. I went through like 20 emotions before I started the stream. I went from thank you. Sonia time. I went through like excitement and then stress, and then I felt really sick, and then I ran around the backyard with Oreo until I felt good again. Because speaking of like university and class and stuff, I used to be like the worst public speaker. Like I would actually freeze and stutter and not be able to say any of the lines or anything like that. Thank you. I am doing great.
You're doing great, Link.
Years and years later, I found out it's because, you know, I have anxiety. And, you know, I wasn't diagnosed or, like, medicated or any single way. So, you know, it made it a little bit hard to manage. But now everything's fine. Like, the teachers were like, literally, Sonia, you're like... You poggers. You are like really good at like writing and stuff. Everything sounds good. Everything's great. You just need to have more confidence. I was like, what happens if I get like a bad grade or something? That's terrible. It's easy. Well, to be fair, they didn't really know that I had anxiety either, so like they'll just like, oh, this person just needs to have a little bit of a pep talk and they'll feel better. So do you all have like stories of like school or presentations and stuff like that? Or am I the only one suffering in the presentations? Oh, by the way, I'll link the music playlist here because I was gonna make my own playlist and then I ran out of time because this PowerPoint presentation is 96 pages long. Oh, that sucks, Happy Chappy. Maybe let me double check. We can quickly count together. Hello, Snuggles. Okay, so we have that, and we go all the way in 95. Still 95. And then I did some revamping this morning. I actually found a disparity with the official timeline early on in the timeline, and so that's gonna be fun. My brain actually froze for a second. It was great. Yeah, that's the big problem with imposter syndrome. I feel like people need to like say like more stuff about the imposter syndrome. Hello Medibot. We're having like the pre-talk, the chat. It will probably start properly in about 10 minutes. I just wanted people to get in because I knew there was a lot of people who were excited for it, which is great. It's like legitimately great, but also I was so nervous for a while. So we're just chatting about times. Hello. I hope you're going well, Pumpkin Lumpin. Certain mangas here. I mean, only if you have the money to buy, or otherwise, you you do not have the money. But yeah, that's the other thing I wanted to mention. I've turned off all ads. It was something I was gonna do for a while, but with the whole Twitch thing recently, I was like, well, this is probably the best time to do it. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't really gotten time to read as much about that stuff as possible, so I don't really have like a solid onion yet, but I will. I'll be back with an onion later. But, so basically, no ads. If you wanna like still give money to me, I say onions instead of opinions. That's an option right there. There's also Patreon. Yeah. And all that kind of stuff. But obviously only do that if you want to. This is not a, hey, you have to donate to me, because I don't never want that. You only pay money if you want to. I'm doing this for fun, including the entire presentation and all that kind of stuff, so never like feel obligated to pay. Yeah, exactly. How does everything sound, by the way? Does it sound good? Do I sound foggers? Okay. Whew. Okay. Everything look good too. You can read everything. You can see everything. I'm not blocking anything out of the way. Okay. Go back. Oh, I'm already at the back. I was just like, there should be another slide here. Looking at my own speaker notes, I was ahead. Hamelin, you were so close to being like jokingly banned last night after making the Triforce joke, but I was scared that I wouldn't know how to bring you back. So, you lived today. Like, I was like, okay, what happens if I ban them as a joke? But when would they go? How would I get them back? What happens if they think they're in trouble? Like, actually. So, you live today, but tomorrow you might not. Okay. Purple Link in Triforce Heroes technically does exist. He's just abandoned in the corner. Don't worry about it. Triforce Heroes is actually one of the 2 Zelda games that I never actually got to finish because it's all internet connections. And you know how well? Oh yeah, you were. I remember faintly, like the Let's Play that you were in, and like, someone did this really good art that was basically the Toon Link style, and I used to have that around. There you go, it's right. Purple Link's here to learn chat. Learn in chat. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it kind of encourages that in that game. I love it, though. Okay. How's everyone feeling? Everyone got their notes out? I mean... Oh, yeah, the Giga Quad. I love the Giga Quad. Like, legitimately, that was so impressive. Oh. Okay. Yeah, you're right here for the lecture. Are you ready? Do you have your notes book? You're just in time. The sticker slate's fine. Don't worry, as long as you can take notes. Or pictures. Many pictures. I saw... That is so fair. I still have my notebooks because I drew a lot of stuff in them. Okay. Here we go. Before we officially start, I did want to do kind of like a quick disclaimer for this presentation, because like I was very nervous before I started, so I wanted to make sure I could set the vibe, you know? This is a for fun presentation to introduce folks who don't know much about the Zelda timeline and or Zelda games. I'm probably gonna gloss over a lot of big things, so it makes it easier for you all, but if you have any questions, I will have like little segments where you can ask stuff. I'm gonna hit you with facts and logics. Hello! You're just in time. We're just doing the disclaimer. I know everyone here is super chill, but again, this is a just in case thing. And also, I wanted to just do a quick shout out to the place that I got most of these images from. I'm linking it in chat. This place has like almost like every single piece of art ever that has to do with Zelda. So like if you want concept art from the original Zelda game, like the CDI games, all that kind of stuff, you can find it here. It's also where I read like all the original mangas that I never got to read and all that kind of stuff. It was very interesting. So if you ever want to go on like a Zelda binge for any odd reason, that place is a good place to start. So thank you very much to that person who did that. Like, archiving stuff is rough. But, here we go. The evolution of the Zelda timeline. Hello everyone. You know me, I'm Sonia Fior. If you're new to this channel though, I am a Red Panda VTuber. I am mostly a variety streamer that focuses on doing like first-time playthroughs of video games. It's okay, it just started. Like right now, I'm doing a playthrough of Kirby 64 and Resident Evil 1. It's a little bit of a difference in tone there. I've been streaming for just over a year now, and through the many streams that I've done, there's one thing that is so abundantly clear about me. I can't stop talking about Zelda games. There's even like a little like tell me about Zelda games packs and all that kind of stuff. You all probably sick of it, but you're all here anyway. So today, I'm releasing all of my power limiters and we'll be talking about the evolution of the Zelda timeline. One of the most complicated bits of the Zelda lore. You are gonna get very high bucks out of that, like Zelda Fat redeemed Dark Shadow. Now, Zelda evolution of evolution of the timeline, you might be asking. Well, nowadays the timeline really looks like this, give or take, which is a lot to look at. Like, look at that. But it used to look very different. Actually, the timeline used to look like it's changed so much in like the 30 to 40 years that's been around. And I know a lot about how it used to be like and how it is now. Because, you know, I used to be that person when I was a young Red Panda. You know, the person who would go onto the forums and read every single timeline, every single world building theory, every single Link is actually dead theory. Every single interview, and so on. So that means I've seen so many official, theorized, and official timelines. And man, does even the development team get really confused every now and then. Link is not Ness. So say goodbye, everyone, to the complete timeline. We might see it sometime in the future, depending on how well this timeline presentation goes. Bye-bye, bye-bye. And let's go instead back in time to 1986 to 1993. Humble beginnings. When I practiced this line, I kept on getting like the numbers entirely mixed up. In 1986, Nintendo releases a game called Legend of Zelda. It's a cute little adventure game where you go through dungeons and collect the Triforce to save Princess Zelda. What we learn from it in this game is very little, but we'll explain it here. It's set in the land of Hyrule. It has both Lord of the Rings and Indiana Jones vibes, the former being in the overworld and all that kind of stuff, and the latter being like the dungeons and stuff. There is a Princess Zelda, that's the girl to the left there. Her family holds both the Triforce of Wisdom and Power. The Triforce, while important, is actually more of a cool artifact than a holy thing here. Ganon is an evil sorcerer. He looks like that. He stole the Triforce of Power and is now trying to get the Triforce of Wisdom. Zelda splits the Triforce of Wisdom into little pieces and hides them away. I'm gonna make the mic go a little bit closer. Link is just a little guy and I'm blocking him, so I'm just gonna I'm gonna make myself disappear for a second. Look at him, he's just a little guy. He's just a little guy. But he rescues Zelda's nursemaid Impa and is informed of the plight of Hyrule. And he just goes and saves it because he is a good little kid. Triforce of Courage? What's that? There isn't much here to do with lore-wise. There's some locations and monsters that will be a mainstay in the series, but that's it. I mean, that is to be expected. There's not much that you can fit into an actual game and game manual, but it's also very impressive to see like what little there is, and it's very interesting to read the adaptations of the time. Yeah, the Master Sword doesn't even exist. See, like in one of them, in a manga, Link is like a half-elf in a D&D-esque kind of world, and then you know, you also have, well, excuse me, Princess Link, and so on. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. So, this little game ends up being very popular, so of course Nintendo makes a sequel, and that is Adventure of Link. The story of it goes as follows. A few years after the defeat of Ganon and the rescue of Princess Zelda, Link, now at the age of 16, is disturbed by the appearance of a mark on the back of his head. You can see it right there. Look at that. Look at those 3 triangles. Oh yeah, Link has big noses in the old games and it's very cute. Upon seeing this mark, Impa, that's the person there, tells Link about a story about ages ago, the King of Hyrule hid a third part of the Triforce of Courage, in the Great Palace. Empress Pogging, you're right! Upon the death of the king, his son had begun to search for the missing Triforce, but the location was only known to the Princess Zelda of the time. Angered upon learning this, the prince tried to use the power of a magician to force the truth from his sister. There it is happening there. He has a whip for some reason. But she refused. The wizard casts a spell that causes the princess to go into a deep slumber, and then soon after the wizard dies. Only by uniting the Triforce of Courage with his counterparts, Link would be able to awaken this Princess Zelda. Upon hearing this tale, Link receives like 6 crystals from Impa as keys to open the Great Seal on the Great Palace. And that is like, he goes through all these dungeons to unlock the seals, to put them on the crystal heads and all that kind of stuff. I explained that well. Yeah, this one has a brother. This is the only one that has like a brother. Like every other Zelda has been an only child. But as Link sets off on his journey, the minions of Ganon begin to attack once again. Believing the only way they can revive their master is with the blood of Link, they search for him. Eventually, after exploring all those dungeons, Link is able to gain the Triforce of Courage. He unites the 3 pieces, returns to the Northern Palace, and awakens the Princess Zelda, making them have 2 Zeldas in the original one. Like in the original game. So you have Princess Zelda that you save in the first game, and then Princess Zelda in Adventure of Link. But we also find out why there is 2 Princess Zeldas. Because the name Legend of Zelda comes from this game, as the prince, who regretted his actions, decreed that every girl to be born in the royal family will be named Zelda. Which, I don't know if that means like every girl or every firstborn girl, because like, you could have like 5 Princess Zeldas, and I think that would get a little confusing after a while. And it is also important to note that the Triforce here is still just weird like magical artifacts. In the cartoons and the CDI Zelda games, the Triforce of Wisdom and Power actually talk and have their own personalities. Lastly, there is one more important detail to like get from Adventure of Link. And there are like a whole bunch of towns in this game, and they all have very particular names. They are Saria, Mido, Rauru, Ruto, Darunia, and Naburu. Yeah, that's the real reason. These names will actually be very important to figuring out where people go, like games go in the future. So keep an ear out for those ones. Okay, very cool. Let's go to the next one. New Link, new adventures with a link to the past. Hey, I mean, I guess that might be an interesting thing if you have like multiple siblings. I'm an only child, so I don't know how it's like. Link, hey, this Link just likes to wear shorts. You know, let him wear shorts, okay? As we get into the new era of Nintendo, everything just gets improved. The graphics, the gameplay, the story, the music, and most importantly here, fires out for Linky. The lore is important here, not the fact that Link doesn't have any is only wearing shorts, okay? This is what is important. But this is the game where we actually get introduced to a lot of important stuff, like much more than I thought when I was originally planning this. So we're gonna be here in A Link to the Past for a little bit, because there's a lot in the manual. Like a lot. First things first. We get the creation of Hyrule and the origin story of the Triforce. I really liked A Link to the Past. It's a really good game, and I really love the art in it. After this, I can show off all the art that I've gotten because holy moly, the art from this time is beautiful. But anyway, once upon a time, the goddesses descended upon the world and created life and order. The goddess of power dyed the mountains with red, with fire, and created land. The goddess of wisdom created science and wizardry and brought order to nature. The goddess of courage, through justice and vigor, created all living beings in this world. They finished their work and left this realm, but not before leaving the Triforce. It is now established that the Triforce is a holy artifact hidden within a place called the Sacred Realm. The Triforce has the ability to grant any wish to those who obtain it, regardless of whether these people's regardless of whether these people's intentions are good or evil. The Triforce's realm also changes to reflect the heart of the person who enters it. So, you know, like, nice, peaceful, vibing realm for good people, and then nasty realm, nasty, icky realm for evil intentions. Yeah, it was called the Master Force in some of the translations. Don't worry about it too much. Just as a side note, I guess, for people who are curious. Basically, the English version of A Link to the Past took a lot of... how do I put it? They basically got really creative with their localization. Liberties, that's the right word. Like, I believe God is gender neutral in Japan, so they were actually calling the gods, the goddesses gods in the English version, and then like we're gonna get to these things called sages very shortly, and they were called the wise men in the English version, but in the original Japanese version they're called gods and sages, which is what I'm using here, because I guess that is the most like accurate explanation of everything. But of course, the Triforce is this wish-granting artifact, meaning that a lot of people will be wanting to get this, like getting all the cool like wishes answered. I would like, I don't know, wish for my anxiety to be gone. Hell yeah. But of course, that means a certain someone has to come in. One day, a band of thieves managed to open the gateway to the Sacred Realm. Upon finding the Triforce, the leader of thieves, Ganondorf, slew his followers and claimed it for his own. Soon after, dark power flowed from the Sacred Realm into Hyrule, corrupting the land and its people. As a result, the King of Hyrule ordered 7 sages, wise men in the English version, to seal the entrance to the Sacred Realm. Yeah, pretty dick move. Ganondorf fought back, with monsters pouring into Hyrule. Yeah, it's Dragmire, right? There was a great battle that occurred where many knights of Hyrule died, defending the sages as they cast the seal. The sages managed to cast the seal, and seal Ganon away, trapping him within the Sacred Realm. This was known as the Imprisoning Wall. For a time, Hyrule entered an age of peace. One day, however, unexplained catastrophes began to occur. Oh no! Thinking that the recent disasters plaguing Hyrule were somehow linked to the Sage's seal, because it was very similar to like what was happening years and years ago, the king investigated it, but found it to be intact. Desperate for answers, he offered awards to anyone who would find the source of Hyrule's problems. In a response, a stranger named Aghanim, that's the guy in the background, that guy right there, he appeared out of nowhere and stopped the catastrophes with a mighty magic. Ooh. As a reward, the king gave him a new position as chief advisor to the throne, and everyone cheered because everything was made. Oh, thank you for the raid! Oh no, it's always great to see a raid. Thank you very much. You've only missed like a couple of stuff because we're deep in the lore of A Link to the Past, which has a lot of stuff in it that's going to explain the entire timeline. So welcome. I hope you're going well. Hyrule was just saved by Aghanim, so you know everything's nice, but actually, all was not well. Aghanim began to govern the palace in place of the king and abuse his political power. So, you know, like most people. Oh, thank you for the follow. And actually, did the follower thing not show up? Thank you for the follow anyway. Rumors spread saying that Aghanim planned to kill the king and take the crown for himself. And that strange magical experiments were taking place in the castle at night. He cast spells on the soldiers and kidnapped young maidens that were descended from the sages, using their powers to attempt to break the seal placed in the Sacred Realm. Oh, there you go! So finally, after all that, we actually get to the start of the game. Does anyone have any questions about that before we go? Because I did have to interrupt myself a couple of times in that one. Basically, Triforce was made. Ganondorf tried to get it. He got sealed away. Disasters started to happen. And then Aghanim showed up and everyone was like, wow, look at this great guy. He started off as a human. He got corrupted in the Dark Realm, which was once the Sacred Realm, but because I don't think there's any tacos in Hyrule. I don't know, that was never answered. I guess they were very good at doing lineage, but yeah. I guess there's like historical records everywhere figuring out where the descendants of the sages are. That happens a lot. They just kind of know. Magic, man, magic. But we're at this game now. We're actually at the intro. Now in this game, Link is a different person from the original 2 games. He is a descendant of the royal knights in the intro, and he lives with his uncle. He starts his adventure by getting a telepathic plea from this game's Zelda, again different, about how she needs help. Aghanim has taken over the entire castle, and she is imprisoned in the dungeons. She is about to be sent into the Dark Realm by him if no one helps her. So, Link sets off to save her. I want to really just point out that while this is really common knowledge these days, Link and Zelda being unique new characters every single time is a very new concept in general, all the way back here. If you think about it, every single other main Nintendo game has the same protagonist, like Kirby, Mario, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, they all have nicknames and all that kind of stuff. Not my Link. Oh, you're gonna get really worried about that in the future, Robin. this actually does cause some confusion in the future with some developers. The CDI Link people, we'll get to them. But anyway, Link saves Zelda and they escape to a sanctuary. There is informed of the third piece of important information. You thought you were done with lore. You thought you were done with lore with the Link to the Past, but you weren't. Because the Master Sword is in this game. The Sword of Evil's Bane is one of the most iconic items in the Zelda series, right next to the Triforce. It is a lot like the Excalibur from the Arthurian lore. It can expel and defeat evil, but only certain people can wield it, and it's usually only after proving themselves. In order to defeat Aghanim, Link must obtain the Master Sword. However, before he can wield it, he must acquire 3 pendants of virtue that are scattered across the land. So of course Link gathers them and collects the sword. Wow, I am. Meanwhile, Zelda is captured and the ritual resumes to put her in the Dark World. Link breaks the castle barrier, defeats Aghanim, but it's too late to save Zelda. I also want to say, take a shot every single time Link has to destroy a barrier, including with someone else's help, because this will happen a lot. So he goes into the Dark Realm and saves all the maidens to prevent the ritual. The maidens use their power to make it so Link can enter Ganon's tower by, you guessing it, breaking the seal on the tower. He defeats Aghanim there. Aghanim then reveals the hiding place of Ganon in the Pyramid of Power. I mean, if you have any, feel free to. Just drink responsibly, okay? Link goes and defeats Ganon. He then recovers the Triforce, making a wish that reverts all the bad things that Ganon did during this time. And everything goes back to normal. Happy ending! Breaking a barrier, honestly. It happens more than once in all these games. Oh wait, is that everything? Yeah. So that's the happy ending. Nothing bad happens at all. Anyway, on to the next game. Link is struck by lightning while sailing. Whoops. And ends up shipwrecked on an island called Coralland. During his adventures, he gets help from a girl named Naren and a mysterious owl. It is a very good and totally not sad game that makes me cry. Yeah, I don't know why Lightning Final Fantasy 13 does that. I don't know why I haven't capitalized. Oh, I'm just about to answer that for you, Talon. This game doesn't have much of a bearing on the timeline. It is also technically never stated which Link this is, but there is evidence. Towards the end of the game, there are physical representations of Link's nightmares, which include Aghanim, a villain that hasn't appeared in any other like Zelda game. Right, easy, open and shut case, nothing else to worry about. What's that doing there? That's strange. That's a little strange. Anyway, let's look at the timeline. Let's look at the timeline. Yeah, this is a PowerPoint timeline that I made. So we'll actually get to that because yeah. Oracle of Ages and Seasons have a little bit of problems. But right now, the timeline is Hyrule created, Zelda's name, imprisoning war, Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past. No, wait. Legend of Zelda, Adventure of Link. A Link to the Past, Link's Awakening. Every time you see an arrow, that means it's a new Link. And the slash means it's from the same game. I did actually notice one thing that's really funny about this. This is the officially stated timeline at the time. Zelda's name is supposed to go before like all the backstory of Legend of Zelda and all that kind of stuff. But the funny thing is, that means that Ganondorf wishes upon the Triforce, but the Triforce of Courage isn't there. meaning that like he gets imprisoned away, and there's this. If you think really highly, it stops making sense. So we're not gonna think about it too much. This is just what the timeline is. No questions asked. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Just don't worry about it. Okay. 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 I realized that like I did a quick like practice before I started the stream, and I just realized this point like just then, and I just legitimately sat there for a minute like baffled, like what? No, this actually doesn't make any sense. Just, you know, don't worry about it. But basically, we have ideas starting to form, basic concepts from the original games are now being explored. We get some important key figures that will also have focus in future installments. The timeline gets really complicated on the main series from here on out, so let's have a little break and look at the spin-off games during this time. These games are not considered like the you know, in the actual lore or anything, but it's really cool to think about where they could be. So let's start. Because I know someone will ask, what's up with these guys? Like, what's up with the Zelda cartoon CDIs? Just like, look at them. Oh, we're gonna get into Link's crossbow training. Don't worry about it. What's up with these guys? So, like, a different company, the Philips CDI people, they made these games. They're entirely like different, like they're basically a Western company making the games, all that kind of stuff. So, they have a very interesting thought process, let's put it that way. And I think I can figure out what they were trying to go for, but they failed. And probably not. My rules for this was basically the thing has to have actual lore written in it for me to do it. If there's no lore, they might be touched upon for a second, but other than that, we're not going to cover them. Because I needed to have a limit somehow, and that was my limit. But for the Zelda cartoon series, when the original games came out, Nintendo of America made a cartoon adaptation of it. It aired every week as a part of the Super Mario Bros. Super Show. There was also a tie-in comic. I actually like the cartoon as well. In it, Link is like portrayed as a good hero, but someone who is also a total like flirt and a bit of an airhead. He's a little bit of a dog. I love him. Zelda is like much more action oriented in this, and she wears more of a like a you know, cooler outfit. Like, look at that, it's ready for battle. It's not a dress or anything, which is very cool. But let's say how do we put it? The Zelda cartoons and tie-in comics, they weren't really well received, you know? They weren't hot Nintendo action. Whoa, you're right. So basically, the developers got permission to make Zelda games and saw the cartoons and went with that. Easy, easy, easy. They also received some promo art of A Link to the Past at one point and used that as like promo art for their own game as well. I don't even think it occurred to them that they could make their own original Link in Zelda, so they just made the cartoon Zelda but a game. I'd say they were confused but got the spirit, but the cartoon Zelda games are interesting. But this is what I meant about just taking the official art and putting it there. See, on the right, that's the official Link to the Past art. On the left, that's the promo of Wonder Gamelon. This was the best quality picture I could get of the Wonder Gamelon, by the way. Look at that. Look at how low quality that is. It's a very good design. And it's the same here with Link. Zelda's Adventure was definitely made after A Link to the Past and uses like the concepts of the character designs from that, because like Zelda's dress you see in this screenshot is a dress that A Link to the Past Zelda also wears. it does actually feel like a different Link and Zelda in this one. And they flipped the script and make Zelda, you know, rescue Link, which is very cute, except the game's bad. I don't really know much about it other than a speedrun and the summary, but I know it's a really hard game to play, so that's really all you really need to know about that. Basically, what I think they were trying to do with the Western cartoon and the CDI Zelda games is make their own like Western franchise of the Zelda games. Kind of like how Archie Comics did that with Sonic, but with a Link attached. With a Link hat attached to it. You know, like this. Like this. Easy. But of course, that's just a game theory. That's just a game theory. We still have 2 more types of like Zelda spin-offs to go through as well. We have the Game & Watch Zeldas. There was a couple of them, but there was only like really one that had a lore, and it was this one. And it's really funny. I really like the lore for this one. It's just literally, there's 8 dragons who decide they cannot live with humans anymore, so they just decide to take over the world. No problem, have fun. And kidnap Zelda. They lock her in a dungeon which can only be opened by the Triforce, so Link has to destroy all the dragons and reassemble the Triforce and free Zelda. For no reason, I just like to pair this with Zelda's Adventure, just because they can just both save each other, and I just think it's very cute, you know, besties saving besties. That's it, really. That's the only lore you have. Link uses a tomahawk as well in this. It's great. I love like this old spin-off Zelda stuff. Yeah, it is a tiny sword. I guess so, you're right. Feel free to take a shot. Next up, we have the Satellite View, or BS Zelda. It's like the Broadcast Satellite View. I just call it the satellite, so just bear with me. There's an actual word that's we'll get to that. It's not Earthbound, don't worry. We are gonna get to the Tingle games as well. But the satellite things is just an add-on piece of the Super Famicom. It never came out in the West, but it was like this radio service show that you could just... Oh, hello, Ario. He just said hi. Hi. Everyone say hi to Ario. But yeah, the service could be accessed via the Giga satellite station between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. The user was required to have a subscription service to the station, as well as a thing called a BS tuner, which I have no clue what that is. But it was used to operate the thing. During this time, the users could download and play video games from Nintendo, including unique things that were only on the satellite view. In this one, there was an inbuilt world, which you see right here. And you can have 2 different avatars, a boy with green hair and like a baseball cap, and a girl with a ponytail, and all that you see in these screenshots. Yeah, we somehow have just like actual ROMs of these games, and they look really pretty. Like, I really want to play these at one point. I'm going to. But these are some screenshots I found ages ago, and I just kind of wanted to show them off as well. But in this one, they put A Link to the Past, like just the original game, as one of the games they could download. A Legend of Zelda one with a visual overhaul where you could also play as your avatar, and also a third one, which is actually the one we're going to properly be covering. The Ancient Stone Tablets is actually a sequel to A Link to the Past. While Link is absent from Hyrule, darkness has returned, as it does. The hero, the avatar from the satellite view thing, is summoned in here to Hyrule and found by Zelda. After some investigating, Zelda believed the player character is the prophesied hero of light. She and the player character then gather these ancient stone tablets to discern what this evil could be. Can you figure out what the evil is? Can you figure out what the evil is? It's Ganon. Ganon's the evil. Wow, you did it! You figured it out! Whoa! But yes, it turns out Ganon was the evil guy. Shocking! While he was killed in A Link to the Past, he lived on as a vengeful spirit. He sensed that the Hero of Power could revive him entirely. So yes, this is an isekai. The Hero of Light is summoned to Hyrule to basically get sacrificed by Ganondorf. But instead, you know, the hero kills Ganon. Like, his soul somehow is just like Ganon gets double slain, so like entirely out of existence. But yes, this is an isekai made in 1997, so of course Nintendo was ahead of its time. Yay Nintendo! Yay Nintendo! So this is what the timeline probably would look like.
You're doing
Thank you. Zelda's name, Imprisoning War, Legend of Zelda, Adventure of Link, Wonder of Gamelon, Faces of Evil, New Link, A Link to the Past, Link's Awakening, Ancient Stone Tablets, Game & Watch Zelda, and Zelda's Adventure. But of course they aren't acknowledged. But finally, it's break time after 48 minutes, holy shit! We're only a third through these slides. I'm gonna take a drink, and I'll be right back. If you have any questions, we'll answer them here, only the ones that come with stuff that we covered, because chances are we are probably going to cover everything anyway. So like, you know, people have asked about the Tingle games, we're gonna get to the Tingle games. Don't you worry, we're getting to the Tingle games. Yeah, it's really cool, isn't it? I actually do want to play the 2 Tingle games at one point. No, it's not. You know they'd just be stealing money from each other anyway. But I'll quickly be right back. If you have any questions, feel free to write them when I get back, okay? Mwah, mwah, mwah. Okay. You're making jokes, but some of them will be answered. I will... Okay. That's fair. I hope you had fun. Okay, let me scroll up. Let's see the first one. Mario 8. Mario Kart 8, that's easy. That won't be covered. Let me stop reading the questions that have been just asked, and let's go to the Mario Kart joke. I kind of assume that every single like Smash Bros, Super Mario RPG cameo, all that is just that the characters from those games just appear somehow in like the Super Smash Bros. Universe, in the Mario Kart universe, if you want to really officially add them somewhere. They're just the same links. They just somehow end up in there. Yeah. Soul Calibur 2, that's gonna be covered. Donkey Kong Country 2, yeah, that's the one that has the Link cameos and all that kind of stuff. They had the original Link. How did he get there? Who knows? But they are all designed on the original Links. Let's see. Yeah, and Nintendo, half of Nintendo actually really cares about the timeline, half of it doesn't. I'll get into it more later, but I feel like legitimately a lot of people do actually care about the timeline within Nintendo, but there's just a pushback by Miyamoto, you know, about certain things, about making, you know, Zelda not a story game, but a fun game. I'm not salty about some things. Yeah, the timeline thing is a little bit of like, how do I put it? Before the official timeline came out, a lot of people just used that as a fun thing. Like, there was actual hints to timelines and all that kind of stuff, but you know, again, Miyamoto messed up a whole bunch of stuff. We'll get to that. But a lot of people just like to put the timeline together for fun. It was just a for fun thing, and I think that's why a lot of people were super happy with the timeline the first time. But anyway, let's see. Was there any other questions? Let's see. Does anyone have any other questions before we continue? No, I'm not putting off doing Ocarina of Time. No, not at all. Favorite goddess? I like the design of her a lot. Miyamoto does not want the timeline to exist. He does not exist. Thank you. I'm just cool. That's just the way I was made. And Miyamoto also did mess with Paper Mario. He super fucked up the Paper Mario, and you know, it sucks. So like, the Paper Mario people really had to... Oh, there you go. But basically, we're here about Zelda and not Paper Mario, but we can do a rant about Paper Mario in the future. Oh no! We're gonna get to the Oracle games, don't worry. I'm going in chronological order of the Zelda games releases. Yeah, cause like the Zelda games, if we skipped the Oracle games, I would have been actually upset, because the Oracle games is where I started when I first became a Zelda fan. There's just a lot to talk about the Oracle games, so we're just doing it in chronological of game order coming out. Someone has already asked that. There is no lore in the Zelda Monopoly. It doesn't count, okay? If there's Zelda lore, we can put it in at the end somehow, okay? Okay? Pointing my finger dramatically at the camera. Okay. We've had questions. Let's start with Ocarina of Time. One of the biggest beasts that are in the entire timeline, and we're just about to find out why. So, we're in 1998 to 2001. Uh-oh, things are about to get weird. So to recap, Legend of Zelda, Adventure of Link, First Link, A Link to the Past, A Link's Awakening Link, Second Link, cartoon CDI, based off the original Link's comic and cartoons. Live action CDI, who knows? The BS Zelda is half a spin-off, half a sequel to A Link to the Past. The Game & Watch Zelda is also kind of like that. But let's get into actually Ocarina of Time. I was actually gonna do the big Zelda, Triforce introduction thing right here, but then I found out that in the manual, A Link to the Past actually covers most of it quite well. But we also do find the name of the goddesses. We have Din, the goddess of power, Nehru, the goddess of wisdom, and Farol, the goddess of courage. We also have a lot of like backstory when it comes to like the races and stuff in Zelda, because this is the first time it really starts to think about the lore in terms of how like Hyrule is built as a country, the people who live in it, and all that kind of stuff. So first we have the Kokiri, little forest children who never grow up. They have guardian fairies and the great Deku Tree who takes care of them. The most important ones that we need to worry about are Saria, the girl with the green hair on the left, I think you can see my mouse, and Mito, the guy sitting on the ground here. And then we have Gorons. I call them little rock fellas, but they're actually really big. On the left we have Daruna. I love Gorons. Their design has barely changed through the entire thing, and they're perfect for that. We have the Zora. They're fish folk. They did actually show up in previous Zelda games, but as enemies. Sometimes they're called the Zola, like in the original games, to make them different. But in this one, they look like this. They're good guys. We have Princess Ruko to the left. She is the most important one. Then we have Gerudo. Tough warrior ladies. We don't talk about the time Gorons had nipples. A male is born every 100 years and they become the leader. This leader is Ganondorf. But towards the end of the game, they kind of align more towards the lady here, Naburu. We have the Sheikah, ninja folk who protect the royal family. There's only really one or two that appear in this game. This one on screen is Impa, Zelda's nursemaid. She's changed a lot in it. This one's a very different one from the other ones. And then of course we have Hylians. I think this might be the first time that they're actually called Hylians. So that's pretty cool. Before that, they're just still kind of weird elf things or humans and stuff. But the important Hylians we have is Malon, Zelda, and Rauru. In this plot, we start off with this Link living with the Kokiri, and we start off with the day that he receives his fairy. He is requested to go to the Deku Tree, the talking guardian of the Kokiri. He is informed that the Deku Tree is dying, cursed by a wicked man in black because he refused to give up a sacred item called the Kokiri Emerald. He tests Link and gives him the emerald to go see Princess Zelda. We go and see 23 is number 1. You're right, that's a good test. Zelda tells Link that the wicked man is Ganondorf, who is trying to obtain the Triforce. She has this revealed to her because she has prophetic dreams, but no one believes her. Yeah, he's like super late to getting his fairy. Because Zelda is just a tiny child who has no evidence, and she's just going to a man named Ganondorf being like, this guy's bad. You do know that, right? But then, Link comes in and she finally has proof, and she's very excited about that because she wants to stop Ganondorf from getting the Triforce. The only way to get to the Triforce is to get, 3 sacred gems, the Kokiri Emerald, the Goron Rupee, and the Zora Sapphire, and the Ocarina of Time. Zelda has the Ocarina of Time, but we need to go and get the other 2 gems to stop Ganondorf from opening the Sacred Realm. We're gonna go and get there first. So of course we collect them, and we go back to Zelda, and we return. When we get there, we find out the Hyrule Castle has been attacked. Zelda is fleeing the castle on horseback, and she yeets the ocarina to Link. Ganondorf chases Zelda because he assumes that she still has the ocarina. Link then goes to the Temple of Time, where the Triforce lays, and then uses all the keys to open the door, which I think is called the Gate of Time if I remember, or Door of Time or something like that. But anyway, instead he finds the Master Sword and draws it, because by drawing it, it actually opens the way to the Sacred Realm. But then Link is drawn to a sleep. Yeah, there's a shot right there. And Ganondorf sneaks in and takes the Triforce for himself. Link is awoken 7 years later in the Chamber of Sages. A sage there called Rauru introduces himself and explains what happens. Basically, Link was too young to use the, the Master Sword, so the Master Sword just made him sleep for 7 years while everything got destroyed. But now Link is finally old enough to wield the Master Sword, so he is awoken. And Link is now tasked into awakening all the sages to, you guess it, break the seal of the barrier to Ganon's tower to go and fight Ganondorf and stop him. And don't worry about that Dark Shadow Rage, just don't worry. But he's also helped with a person named Sheik. You can see Sheik in the background there. They're very cool. These sages end up being Saria, Darunia, Ruto, Impa, Naburu, and of course Rahu. After they are all woken, Sheik reveals himself to be Zelda. And she has the Triforce of Wisdom. And Link has the Triforce of Courage, and Ganondorf has the Triforce of Power. Basically, what happens if you're not a pure person, like a pure intended person, the Triforce splits after you make a wish. Meaning that you have one of the pieces and then two other people just get that. I love Sheik. I think Sheik is gender fluid. I think that's canon. I love Sheik and Zelda. The same person who is very cool. I used to have a crush on Sheik as a little kid. Yeah, I don't know. Basically, I think if you have the entire Triforce and you collect the game, you will just have the Triforce forever. And that's why the Triforce splitting, yeah, they basically best embody the spirits. So Link is the spirit of courage. Zelda is wisdom, Ganon is power. So like, if say for example, like Link wished upon the Triforce and his intentions weren't pure, the Triforce would split, he would still get the courage one. And someone who has very, very like powerful ambitions would get power. It doesn't mean that they're evil, this just means that they embody power, if that makes sense. I don't know. Gods are weird, you know? They left behind the Triforce, which is the big problem for everyone ever, so you know. Let's don't worry about it. But anyway, Zelda is kidnapped. That's another thing you can take a shot about every time Zelda's kidnapped. Link goes to Ganon's tower. The sages break the seal, and then Link can go into it and fight Ganondorf. Ganondorf is now sealed away in the Sacred Realm by the sages, with Ganondorf cursing them. Link and Zelda have a brief talk, with Zelda being like really upset that Link didn't actually have a proper childhood. So she uses her ocarina and the power as the Sage of Time to send Link back to his childhood. Simple, right? Right? And so Link ends up back to where before he drew the Master Sword, but after he got the Kokiri Emerald. This is evident that because Zelda is still in the castle, she hasn't ran off or anything. She turns and sees Link, and they view each other. Link has the Triforce of Courage on his left hand, and that's it. That's the end. We are going to jump a little bit ahead here, but in the future games, we do see the consequences of this scenes here. Link has the Triforce of Courage in Hyrule. Oh, wait, I misread that sentence. Basically, because now Link has the Triforce of Courage as a kid, if he goes to anyone and says, hey, that guy's evil, everyone's going to listen to him because he has the Triforce of Courage, which is a holy artifact and means that he's someone who should be listening to. Just don't worry about it. Meaning that, you know, Link and Zelda have enough sway to convince everyone that Ganondorf is evil, so, you know, Ganondorf is captured for his crimes, and of course time will change. But does that mean everything we've done as an adult is just all unwound and everything like that? And as everyone's already implying in chat, it means no, we're actually in a split timeline instead. We have one timeline where the entire game basically happens. We find out the sages beat Ganon. Zelda sends us back in time so we can have a childhood. That time continues on without us. That's called the adult timeline. This timeline that we're sent to is basically a new timeline. It keeps on going on with Kid Link with Majora's Mask coming up in the future. We call this the child timeline. Very well named series, you know? Very well named. Adult child. Don't worry about it. If you've seen the official timeline, yes, there is a third timeline that is going to exist here at one point, but at this moment, it doesn't exist. So, like, don't worry about it. But we will be getting to it in the future. So instead, we're just going to go to Majora's Mask, and after Majora's Mask, I'm actually going to have a quick break because I need to get something. But let's do Majora's Mask first. Lore Rise. There isn't really much to add on to it. It is a very good game though, so everyone should go and experience it at one point. In my opinion, you don't have to play it, you can watch a playthrough of it. It's a good game. It's just a good game. It does confirm some small things though. This is the link from Ocarina of Time. It's shortly after we met Zelda at the end of Ocarina of Time. The way that they part is very peaceful. We see that in cutscenes. And the journey that Link has is not like a desperate thing to save the world, well at least at first, it's just more of a personal one. The Hyrule in this time is a peaceful one, and for a significant amount of time it just stays that way. I'd say like this Ganondorf still did a lot of crimes at this point. It's just that he hadn't done the worst crimes. He still like messed up the Deku Tree, and the Goron's food supply, and all that kind of stuff. We do not talk about them around here for now. So yeah, he's still done a lot of fucked up things. It's just no one believes Zelda, and the other races just haven't been able to go and talk to the king about it because they're basically dealing with like, you know, fucked up stuff. Otherwise, yes, it would have been kind of sad for Ganondorf. So, at this development state of if we go back into the past a little bit, this is basically what Miyamoto says is the Zelda timeline at this point. That Ocarina of Time is supposed to be a prequel to A Link to the Past and Legend of Zelda. The events of these games point towards it being basically the imprisoning war that's mentioned in A Link to the Past, because we have the origin of Ganondorf, how he sneaks into the Sacred Realm and takes the Triforce for himself. There are seven sages, and they seal Ganondorf away within the Sacred Realm, which is then turned into the Dark Realm. There are some like oddities and differences with what's described in A Link to the Past and what is shown in Ocarina of Time, but really, history often embellishes or changes details in real life, so why not in a video game? Yeah, they really wanted to say that this was the game of the century and all that kind of stuff. The maidens being Hylian, while, you know, there's different races in Ocarina of Time, is technically a little weird, but really this is a world of magic. You can really figure out a different way as to how they are descended. Maybe, like, you know, they passed the torch to some Hylians, or maybe there was some blood magic rituals, who knows? You know, it's not really something you really need to worry about. And, you know, we also had the names of the towns in Adventure of Link, you know, Rauru and all that kind of stuff. Mito doesn't really actually do anything cool in Ocarina of Time, but let's just say he does something cool at the end of Ocarina of Time, and we never get to see that, and that's why he has a town name. But yeah, that's basically how they attach, like, Ocarina of Time to Adventure of Link. They're just named after the sages, the towns are named after the sages, it's the imprisoning war and all that kind of stuff. Still with me? Good. This is basically how the timeline might look at this moment, basically. there's a split timeline, but it still makes a lot of sense. You know, there you go. Makes a lot of sense. And I agree. Ocarina of Time continues on the Majora's Mask, but also there's another timeline where he's defeated as an adult, and that goes on with Adventure of Link and stuff. That's basically what the intended thing is supposed to be at this point. And now I'm gonna quickly be right back because there is another big thing that we need to talk about. I'm gonna click the preview of that, and you get to think about why this is gonna be complicated as I be right back. Oh. I'm just reading chat first. Well, okay. Let's see. I actually wanted to make a fan game of the Oracle Secrets once. Maybe one day. But we have the Oracle of Seasons and the Oracle of Ages. That's Seasons, that's Ages. I have it the other way around. Whoops. These are the games that I started off with, so they're my favorite ones. I think of them very fondly. I already did though. So let's go through the summary of the game first, and then we'll explain why this is actually really weird. The Oracle games are another game series that isn't set in Hyrule. Instead, we find ourselves in the countries of Holodrum and Labrina. Link is called upon by the Triforce and teleported to these lands to help the Oracle of Seasons Din and the Oracle of Ages Nehru from the minions of Ganon. Basically, the minions of Ganon are trying to make big destruction happen and sorrow happen in the world. Because if they do that, they can light like these special candles that will help revive Ganondorf with a sacrifice and all that kind of stuff, as you do. Complicated ritual stuff. You wouldn't understand. But after completing one game, you have the option to link the games together and continue the story within the next game. And if you do that, you do get... I do love Din. I love Din so much. But anyway. But basically you get unique events within like the Link games. Like Zelda appears, some characters cross over to the other game, and like once you save both of the oracles, you get an extra plot line at the end where you have to defeat Trin Rover, who was organizing the ritual, and a poorly revived Ganondorf. So at the end of the game, Link builds a raft, says goodbye to everyone, and leaves on the boat to travel to the seas. Yeah, like he's like... Basically, they don't actually get a sacrifice, it's an incomplete, like, ritual, so it's like a mindless Ganondorf. Just the shittiest guy. Now, given what we've read here, where do you think these games are placed? The seas, you say? Yes, the seas. Well, Hamilton, saying that, you would be smart and logical. And yeah. Oracle Link was, let me just highlight that, was intended to be a Link to the Past Link's Awakening link, but it eventually ended up not being the case. At the end of the Oracle games, the boat that Link rides in is very similar to the boat at the start of Link's Awakening. Thank you! I love your support. The Links in all the games are very similar design, like Capcom's Link is like much younger looking, but it's also like a very stylized game, so it's like, it's okay. And then also like the remakes and the remasters of A Link to the Past and Link's Awakening also soften like Link's appearances to match Oracle Links. In A Link to the Past, they also add a character, Maple, who was only original in the Oracle games, into A Link to the Past. And lastly, in in the original Hyrule Historia, it has the game order of A Link to the Past, Oracle's Link's Awakening. Now, why am I explaining all this? It's because they are actually not the same Link. Because in the later books, it's actually changed for the Oracle games to be after Link's Awakening. It is also stated in the Japanese version of this book that this is an entirely new Link. This is because of one small detail. In both the Japanese and English versions of the Oracle Link games, Zelda doesn't recognize Link. That's it. She just goes, "Oh yeah, I'm Zelda, nice to meet you. I've never met you before." And that's it. It's really funny, isn't it? Basically, they intended to make it like this from the start. Oh wow, this is Oracle music. It's really interesting. And this is actually one of the hardest information to get because there's a mistranslation in the English version of the Zelda Encyclopedia, which says that they are the same Link, when it's actually not the case. So, then your order is A Link to the Past, Link's Awakening, a New Link, Oracle Link. Exactly. As a little kid, that one detail about Zelda made me so adamant that Oracle Link and A Link to the Past or being the same person was like a bad idea. It was silly, it was stupid. But as an adult, it's like, there's probably the reason why they probably had Zelda introduce herself is because it's the first time that Zelda shows up in the Oracle games, and they need a way for Zelda to actually introduce herself to the players, not to confuse anyone. Like, oh, did we meet Zelda before? Did we miss something like that? At least that's what my theory is, at least. But this kind of means that there probably is two Links that happen around this time. The Link to the Past Link and the Oracle Link, because they had the crossover characters, they have all that kind of stuff happening at the same time. So there is just maybe two Links around at the same time. Just like the opposite of what happened in the original, Legend of Zelda games, how they had two Zeldas. In this one we have two Links. Just because they kind of overcomplicated stuff. But I'm happy. I think those two can get along. They can be best buddies. They can bond over trauma and stuff, I guess. But as an aside, the typical canon order for the actual Oracle games is Oracle of Seasons and then Oracle of Ages. So, did that all make sense? Was that all good? Because that was a little bit complicated. It's actually a thing. Yeah, they should have tasty treats and headpats and all that kind of stuff. It's very stupid, but you do understand. Yes, yeah, that's good. Okay, that's good. So, now we're up to the first Toon Link game. We all love it. We all enjoy it. Welcome, Four Swords. This game came out just maybe 4 or 5 months before Wind Waker. making it actually the first Toon Zelda game. This one is simple, like actually simple this time. It is actually simple, thank goodness. We have a new Link and Zelda who are investigating the seal of an important artifact, the Force Sword, which splits the user into 4 selves. You see them here? Look at them, you love them. It also holds a new villain, Buddy, who breaks free of the seal and kidnaps Zelda because he just wants a cute wife. That's literally what he says. He just wants a cute wife. I guess go off, dude. That's not the best way to get a wife, but fair enough. That's Buddy up there. Look at him. He's going, give. But we use the Force Sword to split ourselves into 4. The 4 Links band together to defeat Buddy and get Zelda back. Upon beating him, Buddy is sealed within the Force Sword once more. It's very standalone. It can be put basically anywhere in the timeline at this point. Technically it should probably be before A Link to the Past, because in the remake of A Link to the Past there's like a shrine dedicated to these guys and all that kind of stuff. So for just like simplicity's sake, we'll just put them there for now. So basically, this is what the timeline would be at this point. Yeah, one timeline just keeps on getting bigger. And you're like, yeah, this looks pretty simple. This looks pretty good. I hate to break it to you all. It's about to get complicated again. Because we're now in Wind Waker, which is a very good game. But this one is outright stated to be set after Ocarina of Time's adult timeline. In the prologue, it talks about what happens after Ocarina of Time Link leaves the timeline. How because he was not there, a new hero won't show up. Ganondorf returns and breaks free of the Sacred Realm, and while people try to go against him, they fail. So the people of Hyrule pray to the goddesses for help, and they just flood the land. To keep Ganondorf from taking over the entire world. Hyrule is now just a scattering of islands on the Great Sea. Yeah, great help from the goddesses there. 10 out of 10. So in this game, Link is just a child who lives on an island called Outset, and it's his birthday. Happy birthday, Link! Happy birthday! He gets a weird tunic from his grandmother because it's tradition for boys to wear them on their 13th birthday. While Link is hanging out with his younger sister, Errol, a giant bird is seen carrying an unconscious girl flying over the island. It is followed by a pirate ship that is basically trying to shoot down the bird. The pirate ship hits the actual bird and the girl is knocked into Outside Island. So Link of course goes and tries to help her out. He saves the girl Tetra, but his sister is kidnapped instead by the bird. So of course Link goes out to try and save her. Yeah, we'll get to that in a second, Robin. With the help of Tetra and her pirate crew, Link sneaks into the Forsaken Fortress where the bird takes all of the victims to. He is eventually caught by the bird again and is brought towards this version of Ganondorf. He is then tossed into the sea where he's saved by a talking boat. Said boat, the King of Red Lions, informed him of Ganondorf and how the only way to be defeated is by the Master Sword, which can only be found with 3 sacred pearls. Take a shot. Just take a shot. Because that's also a normal Zelda convention right there. We need to get these pearls from 3 different locations, and this is where 2 of the new races come in. The Rito bird, which are implied to be the descendants of the Zora. You are helped by a young Rito girl named Medley, and you get the pearl from them. You have the Koroks, who are definitely the descendants of the Kokiri. You save one of their kind, Makar, and the Deku of this game gives you their pearl. On the left that's Medley there, and on the right Makar. You also get the 3rd one from a giant fish named Jaboon. The reason why the fish people are bird people in the game that's set in the sea, I don't think it's really ever outright said, but on a meta level, basically, They wanted to keep everyone in the dark. Because the thing is, Hyrule is still actually down there in the water, just frozen in time and in a giant bubble. When we collect the pearls, we do a trial, we climb into the Tower of the Gods, and then we actually get to enter the frozen Hyrule. The Master Sword is hidden within a secret chamber in the underwater Hyrule Castle. Within it, you get to actually see the sages from Ocarina of Time. Like, look at them right there. Look at them. Very cute. You also get the Ocarina of Time Ganon design right there as well. It basically depicts all like the events of Ocarina of Time. That's very cool. It was very fascinating. I still it still blows my mind a lot. But it's basically to keep that a secret. You could just say the goddesses didn't want people to find out about Hyrule, so they turned the fish into birds and stuff like that. I really don't know if there's an actual explanation for that, but that's just... Don't worry about it, basically. Anyway, we go to save Hyrule, kill a bird, but can't beat Ganondorf. We find out that the Master Sword has been weakened, and Tetra has a piece of the Triforce of Wisdom. We retreat. The King of Red Lions is revealed to be an actual king, and a ghost possessing the boat. Tetra is also basically revealed to be this game's Zelda, even though she's sometimes referred to as Zelda here. She just calls herself Tetra, so we're just going to keep on calling her Tetra here, okay? We get our sword powered up by the two new sages, the Wind and Earth sages. They end up being Medley and Makar. We also collect the Triforce of Courage to basically be acknowledged as this hero of this generation. You know, the new Link. But, like, Link. Not, we'll get to that. Tetra gets kidnapped. Take a shot. We go to Ganon's castle, beat Ganondorf. The king wishes for Hyrule to be flooded properly so the new generation can actually move on. So Tetra and Link return to the surface and sail off to find a new world to settle. So what's new here? It's not really explained properly right now, but it's very interesting that there was no hero that became between Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker. It's also interesting that Link had to be properly acknowledged before actually becoming a hero, while all the other Links are predetermined. Like you got Ocarina of Time Link, where you're just yeah, you're a hero, go and save the world. A Link to the Past Link is very similar as well, and the eventual Link gets a Triforce under his hand and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so this Link, there seems to be a pattern, and that pattern was deleted from the timeline when Ocarina of Time Link was taken out of the timeline, basically. And because of that, they had to find a new hero that would be predetermined by history. But not predetermined because he muscled his way into it. Yeah, it's a little complicated. Don't worry about it. We also get the split timeline being actually confirmed here more in detail, because while it's confirmed in interviews, this is the first time it's actually more stated in game. Before that, it was a little bit of technical, plausible deniability, because you could say that Ocarina of Time Link just goes off to different worlds and all that kind of stuff, while the timeline just goes through, while Link saves Hyrule and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's kind of brute force the entire thing. But now, this is officially a split timeline. We're finally here. We made it, everyone. We're in the split timeline. We did it. This also means that Wind Waker is actually placed after Ocarina of Time's timeline firstly, which, wait, where are all the other games supposed to go now? There can't really be a Hyrule if Hyrule is a whole bunch of islands, right? Yeah, about that. Ocarina of Time was supposed to be the imprisoning war, but then Wind Waker really tells the story of what happens after Ocarina of Time. So, what's up with that? So maybe, maybe there's another game that's going to be the imprisoning war. Something else that can just take the place of Ocarina of Time. Like, it could be something that happens in the Child Timeline in the future instead, something like that. We can solve this, it's okay. Maybe, like, Four Swords Adventure has something to hold. Four Swords Adventure, as you can guess, is the second installment of the Four Sword. In production, funnily enough, it was supposed to be the story of the imprisoning war. Halfway through though, Miyamoto told him to scrap it and focus it on being more of a story-light, fun action game instead. So little did he know, or maybe he didn't know, this caused a lot more problems within the timeline because of it. Oh, he could have just not cared because he really did that. He just, I don't think he really cares about the timeline at all. Just not at all. But regardless, we still get some cool things in the game, so let's talk about a little bit more of Four Swords Adventures. This game starts off with another new Princess Zelda. She's concerned about the seal of the Four Sword. Strange things are happening in Hyrule, and she thinks that might be the cause. She summons her. I really enjoyed Four Swords Adventures. I played it all by myself though. No one else had those link cables. But yeah, Zelda summons her childhood friend Link and 6 maidens to check on the seal. I want to point out that these maidens are a different kind of maidens than the ones from A Link to the Past. In the Japanese spelling of Four Swords Adventure, the maidens are called Miko, which are shrine maidens or oracles. That's the very good English like comparison, if that makes sense. Everyone arrives. Oh, this is a good song. Anyway, everyone arrives at Hyrule Castle, where the maidens make a portal to the resting place to the Four Sword. A being of shadow that looked like Link suddenly appears, catches the maidens with magic, and runs into the portal. Link follows, but fails to reach Shadow Link, and he also doesn't have a sword, I think, at this point, so he just draws the Four Sword. He is transformed into 4 Links, and he's prepared to fight Shadow Link, only to be yeeted away by Vati because Vati was still sealed within the Four Sword. So good job, Link, you just broke the seal. The Links journey Hyrule, rescuing the maidens and fighting the Shadow Links. It is revealed that the Shadow Selves are coming from a dark mirror, which is basically supposed to reflect the evil that lies within a person and bring it to life. The Shadow Links in these games are basically just menaces, like they're not really that evil. So I feel like it's just saying that Link is just like a gremlin at worst, and he's most evil. While the villain behind the plot is assumed to be Vati, eventually it's revealed to be Ganon. Shocking. Interestingly enough, this is actually the first time is actually a new Ganondorf. All the other ones have been the same Ganon so far. This Ganondorf came from a peaceful Gerudo tribe and was exiled because he refused to follow the peaceful rules of the tribe. He then travels to and finds the Trident of Power, which is the cool trident thing that he uses in most of the 2D Zelda games. All the maidens are rescued, the Dark Mirror gets destroyed, so no more Shadow Links. We climb the tower, break the seal to go and get into the tower to fight Vati and Ganon, take a shot. Vati is killed, and we seal Ganon within the Four Sword. So even though this isn't like a proper imprisoning war, it still kind of works. Except now, Ganon is sealed within the Four Sword instead. It's still a little bit weird. It could still kind of work as the explanation of the imprisoning war. You can kind of nod. It's like, plausible deniability, all that kind of stuff. But right now, it's just a standalone. It has to go after Four Swords, but that's it. So now the timeline is looking more like this. It's in shambles. It's in shambles. Oh, it's just more of the reason how how is the Four Sword not in like whatchamacallit, A Link to the Past at that point? Rest in peace. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. We will be getting back into a very important lore-heavy game, but first, let's take a break and talk about Soul Calibur 2. So normally I wasn't going for any of like the cameo stuff because like, yeah, there isn't really an explanation as to why they're in the game, or you can just be like, oh, yeah, it's just that link and they're there. Don't worry about it kind of thing. But this one actually has like proper lore, and I'm just going to read the summary, and I'm probably going to stumble a couple times. Don't worry about it. Hyrule's tranquility was shattered by the arrival of several disasters. Eventually, it was discovered that an unknown magician was to be blamed for all that was happening. Just as people were about to lose all hope, the sun miraculously returns as Link, having been summoned by Princess Zelda to find the disaster's source, successfully defeated the magician. While the children rejoice, while the people rejoice, it became clear to Link and Zelda that the magician responsible for the disasters was in fact controlled. Thank you for the follow. I'm sorry I can't actually see who followed, but I appreciate it. He gathered, but basically they found out that Soul Edge was from a different planet and people were working on reviving it. So knowing that, hey, maybe we shouldn't have this evil blade be resurrected, Link decided to go to the world of Soul Calibur, Earth, and destroy Soul Edge himself. He gathered his trusted Master Sword and Ocarina of Time and transported himself onto a secret journey. Eventually, he was successful in sealing the way to evil within the Soul Edge, saving his homeland and quietly leaving the world with the tune of the Ocarina. Neat-ha! Very cool, right? Very cool. So, as you can see, this could easily just be like Ocarina of Time Link, like the child timeline Link but grown up. Or it could just be like a Link that looks suspiciously like Ocarina of Time Link. It wouldn't be the first time. Yeah, it's very interesting. Like, Soul Calibur, for its like lack of story, has a lot of lore within the characters' profiles. Because like I'll say it right here, there isn't really a plot most of the time in the actual series of Soul Calibur, but there's just a bunch of scenarios of all the characters, and like there's an ending to all those scenarios. And basically what the developers tend to do is pick like what they liked about all those ending of scenarios and make that the backstory of the next game. So like the canon lore for Soul Calibur 2 is that I believe the new guy Raphael gets defeats Nightmare and gets the sword and then it's corrupted by Soul Edge and all that kind of stuff. It's been a solid minute. So basically what I'm saying is, technically, this is not like Link's victory is not canon to the Soul Calibur timeline, but it doesn't stop, you know, it being canon to the Zelda timeline. You can't stop me. I'm putting this in the Zelda timeline. Oh, and I actually have a break time here. Well, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. I am gonna stand up and stretch for a second because that's always good to do. This is a very cute picture of Link, isn't it? I love him so much. Stretching time! Everyone stretch and get a drink! Okay. Yeah, this picture is a life of a Link doll from A Link to the Past. I can't answer why Miyamoto hates us, but he's not developing Zelda games anymore, so that's good. I'm gonna actually check who followed me. Let's see. Stream manager. Oh, so it was Kimo Dekaze and Dark Slayer 32. Thank you for following me. Sorry that I couldn't actually see who followed me. I'm gonna keep this thing up in the corner just in case. Okay. Now let's continue. Technically, we've gone through the major bulk of the timeline now. There's still a whole bunch of games to come, but it's easier to place them now. Because even though the timeline is in shambles, they just basically actually try and state where the these games should be and all that kind of stuff from now on. So yay, yay. Oh. I accidentally made the screen text bigger. First up, we got the Minish Cap. Very, very cute game, very pretty game. Right off the bat, we are introduced to a couple new pieces of backstory and lore. We got a new race, the Picori or Minish. These guys on the left over here. A Link that we have never played as, the guy on the right here. And a possible origin for all evil spirits. This is how the backstory goes. The evil spirits appeared in Hyrule, in the land of Hyrule, and just when it seemed that the world was going to be cast into darkness, the tiny Picori descended from the skies and bestowed upon a courageous human the golden light force and the Picori. I don't think he has a goat. Oh, thank you for the raid! I'll start the backstory again after this. I hope you're all having a good time. Thank you, raiders. We are doing the Zelda timeline. We are up to the third segment, I would say, of the Zelda timeline. We've gotten through the big bulk. There's still a lot of stuff to go. There's just so much Zelda stuff. There's so much Zelda stuff. But this is how the backstory of Minish Cap goes. Evil spirits appeared in the land of Hyrule, and just when it seemed that the world was to be cast in the darkest of shadows, the tiny Picori descended from the skies and bestowed upon a courageous human the golden light force and the Picori blade. The hero man used his wisdom and courage, the golden light and his sword to fight off the demons and restore the balance to the world. The people were so grateful to the Picori that they held an annual celebration in their honor. Whoever won the sword tournament held at the festival would be able to touch the sacred blade. Oh, thank you for the gift sub. The tradition of the Picori festival continued onwards, but the actual, Picori themselves faded into legend. But there's also an extra part of the legend that tells of the mystic doorway that opens every 100 years. When the door opens, the Picori can enter the world of Hyrule. So basically, all the monsters ever are sealed within this Picori blade, and the game's introduction is at the start of the Picori festival this time. Our Link in this game lives with his grandpa, who is a blacksmith, who is also making the sword that is going to be given to the dude who wins the tournament and stuff. They had just finished the blade, and now Link gets to go to the festival with his best friend Zelda. Link just has this task of delivering the sword to the king at one point, but we get to go and celebrate and have fun and all that kind of stuff. The festival happens, and so does the sword tournament. The winner is a man named Vardy. This guy here, right here. Look at him. He looks very different from the other 2 times that we've seen him. So he gets the opportunity, go and touch the sword. But instead, he shatters it and releases all the demons into the world, as you do. He easily defeats the guards that were trying to subdue him, and then turns Zelda into stone as she tried to use magic to stop him. Link tries to intervene, but he can't, save her. He's not unconscious. So, with the Picori sword shattered, Link is asked to, find the Picori to fix it. Let me take a second. I've been reading so much, my mouth has gone dry. But basically, the Picori can only be seen by, kids. And the king knows that Link is reliable. He is asked to go and, find the Picori. Honestly, this is the most reasonable situation as to why you would put a kid in charge of doing something. This is the only reasonable explanation why we have a kid doing stuff in the entire Zelda series. And the king actually has guards help escort Link into the forest and all that kind of stuff. This king is actually a good king. I like this king. But on the way to the forest, we find a talking hack called Eslo, who knows the way to the Picori, or the Minish as they prefer to be called. Eslo shrinks Link down so he can enter the Minish village. This is where he finds out he needs to gather 4 elements, because of course you do, to repair the blade. So we gather the 4 elements. On the way we find out that Eslo and Vaati are also both Minish. Eslo made a magic cap that can grant wishes, and that never goes wrong in the Zelda series, never. Vaati used the cap to become a powerful sorcerer and then just turned Eslo into a cap, just despite his old master and all that kind of stuff. And now he's looking for the Light Force, to take control over it. He thought it was in the sealed sword, it wasn't. We repair the sword, it turns out to be the Force Sword. It doesn't make full Link clones, but you have like shadow clone after images instead. Vaati then realizes that, the Light Force is actually in Zelda, and he turned her into stone. he messed up. The dingus, he messed up. So he's trying to extract the power from Zelda at this point, and that's where we go and, fight Vaati ourselves. So we defeat him and restore Zelda to normal. Zelda uses her powers and the magic of the wishing cap to basically restore Hyrule to how it was before Vaati messed things up. Eslo is turned back into the Minish, everything is happy, the end. We're not putting Mario Odyssey in the timeline, no. So basically, the story is the introduction of Vaati and the Force Sword, making it have to be very early on in the timeline. It's also the possible origin stories of monsters before Ganon. It actually isn't, but at the moment, this is the only thing we had, so that's what we went with. What else happened here? This is also technically the origin story as to how Link got his hat. Every single Link is very different, a different person and all that. But, people just like to put it, first in the timeline or very up to the first because it's just a little cute thing. It's a little bit like how, Zelda's name is because, of the sleeping Zelda and all that kind of stuff. Another thing to note is, Zelda's Light Force. She has powerful light powers that are not related to the Triforce. So let's get on to the next game. One of the longest games. I'm gonna take a drink. Because Twilight Princess, yeah, this is a perfect change to the song. Oh yeah, no, the Picori are the reasons why there's hearts and rupees and bushes. They just like to put stuff in there. I love Midna. She's great. Yeah, I saw that. Let's not worry about the Link tournament too much. I don't think Twilight Princess Link should have won. But yeah, I've been alluding to the continuation of the child timeline and the consequences of Ocarina of Time, Link and Zelda for a while. And we're finally here. We're finally here. because this also starts the era of, I'd say, like more character-driven stories in like the Zelda games, which I am very happy for. But it also means we have a lot of stuff to get through, and I've tried to limit them only to 3 like slides for each game, and that's not gonna work. But let's go through it as quickly as possible. Link in this game lives in a small farming village called Auden. As Link prepares to go on a journey to give an offering to the royal family, odd things start to happen in the town and the surrounding forests. The day before the journey, Link and the village children are attacked, and the children are kidnapped. Link, knocked unconscious from the attack, wakes up and tries to find out what happens to his friends. Where the forest entrance was usually placed, however, was a dark doorway. A giant hand reaches out and grabs Link. It's a shadow monster that is just basically just trying to kill him. But the Triforce on Link's hand activates, making the monster drop him. Because this is the first time the Triforce actually really comes into play, so before that he's just like, oh, I just have a mysterious mark on my left hand. Wow, how long? 2 hours, no wonder my throat is dry. But basically, Link is then transformed into a wolf, captured and placed into a castle. He is freed by a weird imp called Midna. That's her up there. Everyone praise Midna. She's fantastic. But basically they are in like a weird Twilight version of Hyrule, and they're in like Hyrule Castle at this moment. So we go and visit this game's Zelda. Zelda tells them of a man named Zant. That's the guy there. Look at him. I tried to put this picture anywhere that wasn't going to be distracting. It didn't work. It just didn't work. That's just where he is. All praise Zant. But Zelda tells them of Zant, who invaded Hyrule with Shadow Beasts. He turned the world into Twilight, which turned people into like weird like spirit things, and invaded the castle. With no one to help really defend her except for like a scattering of guards that remained, Zelda had no choice but to like surrender. Midna thinks the way to beat Zant is to use an artifact called Diffuse Shadow, which is split into 4 pieces. She has the first one, so you guessed it, we're gonna go and find 3 artifacts in 3 different dungeons. We also run into light spirits, which basically keep the light and balance of each like providence in each like part of Hyrule. The Twilight Beasts killed them, but they can be revived using objects called Vessels of Light and collecting Tears of Light. Yes, this will become important in other Zelda games later. We collect everything, restore different parts of the world. We meet Zant and gets like completely owned by Zant. Midna is wounded and Link is stuck in the wolf form. So we go to Zelda for help. She restores Midna but disappears into a glowing light, all that kind of stuff. Hyrule Castle is then blocked by a magical barrier. Midna reveals that both she and Zant are a race called Twilly, and they're from this place called the Twilight Realm. We can get to the Twilight Realm by going through a magical mirror called the Mirror of Twilight, but we can't really go there until Link is like turned back to a regular human. So we go and get the Master Sword. We do that, Link's like form is like restored and all that kind of stuff. We go to the desert where the Mirror of Twilight is, and it's destroyed. I really hope no one's taking any shots either. But yeah, the mirror is destroyed, and there's just like a whole bunch of sages just staying there, ready to explain a whole bunch of stuff. The ancient sages in the mirror chamber revealed that Zant received his power from, who would have guessed, but Ganondorf, the very same one from Ocarina of Time. Ganondorf had been sentenced to death for his evil deeds, impaled with the Sword of the Sages. However, he had previously received the Triforce of Power, which allowed him to survive the execution. He then used the power of the Triforce to break free of the chains and pull the Sword of Sages out of his chest. with the loss of their power, the sages then decide to like banish Ganondorf into the Mirror of Twilight, where he just lived there until he corrupted Zant, all that kind of stuff. The sages then task Link and Mina with the duty of repairing the Mirror of Twilight to defeat Zant and to defeat Ganondorf afterwards. So we do that, enter the Twilight Realm, beat Zant, then we can break the barrier on Hyrule Castle. We fight Ganon, a possessed Zelda, and then we fight Ganondorf on horseback, and then we fight Ganondorf again with a sword battle. It's actually really cool, despite how convoluted they did in the game and all that kind of stuff. It's still a really fun encounter. We beat him. Mina's curse is broken. She goes into the Twilight Realm, but she also shatters the Mirror of Twilight. Happy ending. I do have a Master Sword right next to me. So, what does this mean for everyone? Let's talk war. I don't think you can. I think you can just kind of spin at him. Oh, it's definitely not metal. It's never fully explored, like explained in the actual game, but this is the actual sequel to Majora's Mask. I'll answer that question after I explain this slide, okay? Mix up NC Saddle. Because that's a very interesting question. The events of Ganondorf's execution probably happens during the events of Majora even. So why does he have the Triforce of Power? When Ocarina of Time Zelda sent Ocarina of Time Link back to the child timeline, Link still had the Triforce. As there can only be one Triforce per timeline, the Triforce got split into 3 pieces and gave like their Triforce pieces to the respective wielders that represent them. So, you know, Ganondorf got power, Zelda got wisdom. No one expected him to have it, even like Ganondorf himself. So it probably like activated at that precise moment. So that means for hundreds of years that Ganondorf had that Triforce of power. The other 2 pieces just seem to stay in Link's and Zelda's bloodline, making Twilight Princess Link a descendant from Ocarina of Time Link. It's implied like through the game, but later actually confirmed that the Hero's Shade, that guy shown right there, is actually Ocarina of Time Link. Yeah, basically. About that question about the Twilight Realm, it's actually a separate realm to the Dark Realm. It's just a different place that people live in. There's other realms that's basically around in Zelda games. I haven't really touched upon them too much because they haven't been super important. There is Subrosia, which is like an underground world. There's another world that's coming up in the future called like Lorule, and Terminia is actually like also a different realm as well. So there's just like a whole lot of different realms that kind of circulate Zelda, but also not at the same time, if that makes sense. But yeah, with a moment of empathy, like basically Ocarina of Time Zelda kind of just messes up a whole lot of timelines. Yeah. On to the next slide now. It's not something that's probably I can properly explain now because, you know, the game's not actually out yet. But in Twilight Princess, you do collect Vessels of Lights that you collect Tears of Light with. That's a quest in Skyward Sword, but it's not really important to the timeline. But it's also in the trailers of the Tears of the Kingdom. Link seems to be holding some kind of Vessel of Light in like the artworks and the clips and all that kind of stuff. And you know, the game is called Tears of the Kingdom, implying that we're going to be probably collecting these vessels and all that kind of stuff in that game. So I just wanted to highlight there because it might be important in the future. People are also like theorizing that the Twili might be returning at some point in Tears of the Kingdom as well. Well, there isn't much evidence. There is a whole bunch of images in Breath of the Wild to Twilight the Princess, including the Mirror of Twilight. But you know, who knows? It's not like, you know, Nintendo had made any plans to make a sequel to Twilight Princess at any point, right? So Link's crossbow training is a sequel to Twilight Princess. It was originally planned to be a side story like how Majora's Mask is a sequel to Ocarina of Time, with a lot of the plot already planned out. Then Miyamoto came in and told everyone to scrap it and make a fun side game with no plot. The end. So we actually do get a sequel to a Zelda game. Hi BB! Hi BB! I hope you're going well. Yeah, he did. He just scrapped the entirety of the sequel to Twilight Princess. Just like that. It was gone forever. I'm not mad. I'm not mad. I'm not mad. I'm not mad. Anyway, Phantom Hourglass. Phantom Hourglass. We do get a sequel for Wind Waker. It's a side game as well, so you know, how do I put it? It doesn't really add much to the actual main plot. It's just more character driven. Link and crew are like investigating a ghost ship that's been kidnapping a whole lot of like people. We discover the ship, we try to enter it, and then we're just like washed out into sea. We go on a quest with a fairy named Celia and a boat captain named Linebeck. They're really fun. They're really cool. It's a really cute game. I like it a lot. It's like the characters are really well written and all that kind of stuff. It's also an homage to Link's Awakening, just, you know, less sad. So, Link and Tetra and the pirate crew continue their voyage after the game, and we sail right into the next game. Spirit Tracks is a sequel to Phantom Hourglass and Wind Waker with a new Link and Zelda. It takes place in the new Hyrule. They finally found it. Good job, Link and Zelda. This Link is a train engineer apprentice and is roped into adventure when Zelda secretly requests his help to meet Link's mentor Alfonso. Alfonso used to be a royal knight. I'm gonna reach out in a second. She's asking, oh my god, what have you done over here? Did I make a pun somewhere? Did I make a pun somewhere? Whoops. Anyway, she's basically suspicious. Oh, say on to the next game. Wow, I am so head empty right now. Basically, Zelda is suspicious of her counselor Cole, because he's being like a weird old gremlin dude. But then she is attacked, and her body is taken away by the Free, but she's still like a spirit that's like separated from her body, so she joins forces with Link, and they go on an adventure to defeat Cole and a guy named Maladus, which is basically the Ganondorf in this game. I actually didn't explain that at any point, but you know, basically new adventure, new Link and Zelda, with trains. This basically like ends the series of the original games being set in the new Hyrule that, you know, Link and Tetra finally find. Because like, there's trains. And there's no trains in any of the other Zelda games. And I guess you could say like, you know, like Hyrule got entirely destroyed, but like, where did the trains go? The trains would still have some kind of evidence still there. It's also interesting to note that while there is a sinister evil in this new Hyrule, there is no mention or appearance of Ganon and the Triforce. Because, you know, they're deep underwater and all that kind of stuff, but it's also, that's never really stopped Ganondorf before, so it's very interesting that he just doesn't return again. So in a lot of ways, this marks the end of like Ganondorf's strife in the adult timeline. Also, once again, Zelda has magical light powers that aren't related to the Triforce or in any single way. That will come up soon. So, in the main games, we do have the next big beast coming up, so of course that means, instead of that, it's Tingle time. So, the character Tingle, for some reason, is very popular in Japan. Because of that, he has like at least 3 games to his name. They are developed by a company called Vanpool, with its employees originating from the company Love Delic. You know, that's not really relevant to the Zelda timeline. I just really wanted to like highlight that because, you know, like, they are the guys who made the Moon RPG, and the lovely people just keep on showing up everywhere, and I think that's legitimately really cool, and you can really see, like, their style in these Tingle games. So we have, I think, technically 4. One is this is a fun pack, so that doesn't really count. And we also have Tingle's Balloon Fight, which is just a reskin of an old game called Balloon Fight. It has no story or anything like that, so we're not really gonna bother with putting it in the timeline. Ah, there we go. Next we have is freshly picked Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land. Tingle is an ordinary middle-aged man who is offered a life-changing event by being able to go into the paradise of Rupee Land. However, before we can get there, he's guided by Uncle Rupee, who tells him to just collect as many rupees as possible and toss them into the western pool in order to gain access to it. And that's it. That's the goal of the game. You have to collect rupees, pay tolls, collect rupees, hire bodyguards, and then collect some more rupees. Be careful about spending all your rupees, because if you don't have any of them, Tingle will just straight up die. Just straight up be dead. That's a lot of barriers to break, so maybe not. This interesting game is probably set in the adult timeline, because it has a whole bunch of violence. And the Deku Tree actually from Wind Waker appears in this game. He's at the end of his lifespan though, so this is probably like hundreds of years after Wind Waker, just set on the Great Sea, after, you know, Link and Zelda have left this area. Now if you thought this game had an interesting name, let's welcome Ripened Tingle's Balloon Trip of Love. This game, how do I put this? It starts off with Tingle as an ordinary man. Except in this game, he's magically transported into the realm of Oz. You know, like Wizard of Oz. It's a retelling of the entire story with a lion, a scarecrow, and a tin person. So yeah, this is an isekai for Wizard of Oz. It's technically not in the timeline. Let's just pretend, for our sakes, that, like, you know, Tingle himself, in the introduction before he's in a different, like, world, he is just, how do I say, in a future Hyrule. There we go. We'll just go with that. And now that we've had our little side moment, no, I will actually argue that I think the Tingle games are legitimately very good. It's not their fault that Twilight Princess sequel doesn't exist. Like, the people who made the Tingle games are like the people who made the Moon RPG, which they make quality games basically. If it is anything to blame, it's Miyamoto. He fucked everything up. So thank you, Miyamoto. But yeah, now we're on to the biggest next beast. We're gonna go straight into the next game, but before we even start that, I'm just gonna outright say Skyward Sword is the first game in the entire timeline. So of course we're gonna just explain the backstory right now. When the goddesses created Hyrule, they left the Triforce under the guard of another goddess named Hylia. For an unspecified amount of time, Hylia ruled over the land in the era of peace. That era ended quite suddenly when a fissure appeared from below the earth, and an army of demons marched out, led by their ruler, the Demon King Demise. He wanted the Triforce to use it to conquer the world. He laid waste to the lands, destroying everything in his path, almost killing all the Hylians. Hylia fearing the safety of the Hylians, gathered all the survivors on an outcropping of rocks and lifted it all the way into the sky. She also secretly hid the Triforce within the floating island. After moving the Triforce from reach, Hylia went to battle with Demise, and after a bloody battle won. She cast Demise into a prison and placed the seal there. Demise was stripped of his physical form and forced into one of Abomination. I like how I didn't actually put a picture of Demise, but I did put his imprisoned form right there. That's the Abomination form to the left. I hate that thing. I hate that thing. But Hylia sustained great injuries within her battle against Demise. Knowing that the seal wouldn't last and she wouldn't survive in this form for much longer, she made a plan. She gave up her immortal form so she could reincarnated into a mortal in the future. That way she could finish what she started. She also created a sword spirit to guide a hero chosen to defend her in the future. Where did the toes go? Timeline. I don't want to talk about the toes. I'm not talking about the toes. We're not. Thousands of years later, the people on the floating island became the people of Skyloft. Hylia was finally reincarnated into a girl named Zelda. Shut up, Kyle. Who had a best friend named Link. Upon sensing this reincarnation, Girahim, one of Demise's surviving generals, hatched a plan to seize possession of Zelda to use her to break the seal. Girahim created a tornado that threw Zelda from the sky and down onto the land below called the surface. Soon after, Link meets the Sword Spirit, V, pursues Zelda to the surface to protect her. By the way, there's Girahim right there. There's Girahim. Zelda goes on her journey to gain her memories of her goddess form with the help of a lady named Impa, avoiding Girahim and accidentally missing Link a whole bunch. At the same time, Link goes on a quest to find her and become stronger. He also stops the imprisoned one, that guy, from reviving by hitting his toes. Are you happy now? That's how the toes fit into the timeline. Zelda goes back into time to shortly after the battle against Demise. She uses her powers to go into an age-long sleep that will help keep Demise's seal as strong as possible. Link is tasked with finding the Triforce and using it to wish for the destruction of Demise. He succeeds and Zelda awakens. But surprise! Zelda is kidnapped by Girahim. Girahim uses a ritual to revive, and now Link has to fight against Girahim and then Demise to bring back Zelda's soul. He of course defeats Demise, and in Demise's dying breath, he curses both the goddess and the hero, stating that his hatred will forever follow them. So pursuing the successes of Link and Zelda through all of time. This is the one moment as to why there's always a Ganondorf, a Link, and a Zelda finding each other in a Hyrule. I hate you all. This is also explaining why, Zelda has this mysterious power. It's because she's a reincarnation of a goddess, and, the bloodline just continues to keep that powers there forever. Meaning that even if there isn't, a Ganondorf or Demise counterpart, there is, how do I put it? Zelda's always probably going to be in trouble or in danger because she is literally a reincarnation of the goddess. Yeah, and Link is just unfortunately there as a person who wanted to save his best friend, and now he's cursed for life, and throughout his many, many lives. Okay, we're almost at the end. So we're gonna have one more break time. Have a look at this beautiful artwork of, this is official Breath of the Wild artwork. I love it so much. I'm gonna take a big drink.
You're doing great.
And then, stretch. And then we'll continue. We're actually kind of gonna get into that in a second, Talon, at the end. I feel like Zelda's more like going like, you can do it, Link. But I'll be right back. I'll get to that in a second. Hello. I'm creeping back in. There we go. The way that I picture the hero spirit, which is also the curse of the demise and all that kind of stuff, is that, how do I put it? Not every single Link is part of the hero spirit. So that would be something like Wind Waker Link. He's just a guy who wants to save his sister. He's not a predetermined guy who has the power of the Triforce on his side. So you can say that like there's multiple Zeldas and Links, meaning that one of them is a part of the hero spirit and the other one isn't. If that makes sense. And the same with the Zeldas. No, you guys stop with the Demon King feet pics. I'm gonna kill you all. No, wait, come back, I'm sorry. Why is there with everyone with the toe pics in the demise? I'll fight you all. Let's see. Yeah, I wish Demise was much more interesting to fight. Let me actually get a picture of Demise himself up because I did forget to get an image of him. I just had an image of the imprisoned one like a weirdo. Yeah, basically, like either Oracle Link or a Link to the Past Link are the ones without a spirit. Demise. This guy with sword. Somehow I did not actually get a picture of Demise throughout my entire thing. I don't want a web file, I want a PNG file. Why do you keep doing this to me, Wiki? Why? Give me a PNG. Ugh. Ugh. We'll get one, don't worry. I'll just go to the Zelda wiki. I like this song a lot, by the way. This is Burns theme from Spirit Tracks. That's it. I'm not there yet. Let's see. Where's my image option? I have so much stuff. I don't know how people can like whatchamacallit, keep organized when they stream. It's hard for me. Zelda timeline. Demise. Here we go. Here's the nasty man. He basically does look like a lot like Ganondorf, but very different as well. Stop! I I hate you all. I hate you all. I think they're like probably a bit. They're definitely more scales than feathers because the Imprisoned one definitely more has scales. Yes, this is this guy here. Let me go backwards. These two things are the same person. Basically. Basically Hylia turned him from a hunk to an ugly abomination, just because she could. I hate you. You all. I'm gonna have some caffeine actually. I think that the Imprisoned one is actually very cute. I just think it's very funny that he ends up being like the ultimate villain of the game. I also do think it's a little sad that Demise doesn't really have much of an actual like standing in the actual plot, if that makes sense. I'm hoping that maybe in the Tears of the Kingdom we can explore that a bit more, because I think it's very interesting that there's this one guy who's just the cause of everything, and then he just goes away and we have Ganondorf instead, you know? Yeah. Let's see. Let's go forward again. Cause yeah, it makes sense, but I do hope that we'll get to eventually, but I have this idea, this game theory, so to speak, that I think that Tears of the Kingdom, while not being the last Zelda game, it's gonna be maybe the last game that in the timeline explains the cycle between Skyward Sword and Tears of the Kingdom, like the cycle of Ganondorf, the hatred and all that kind of stuff. While it might not go away, it will definitely, like, you know, explore it a bit more. Yeah, you know, if that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, soft reboot, because Breath of the Wild is supposed to be a reboot in the first place. So having a reboot that explains why Ganondorf is a nasty evil man and make him go away, and we can still have Ganondorf show up in the future, but just for different reasons, you know. That's the way I'm looking at it. Yeah. But now that we're finally done with Skyward Sword, we're finally here at the Hyrule Historia. The one thing that changed so much stuff about this entire game. I noticed there's something popping up here, so I'm just gonna move that for a second. I hope that hasn't been there the entire time. But basically, this is a book that was released shortly after Skyward Sword. It had a lot of like concept art of Skyward Sword and some concept art from other Zelda games. It was very cool. Oh wow, yeah. We will. I forgot about that about Hyrule Warriors. But yeah. How do I begin this? Because I just want to mention every single slide I have in this entire presentation. I've had notes, but this one right here says you can explain this entire points about notes, future Sonia. I believe in you. Thanks, past me. But basically, Skyward Sword goes first because, you know, it explains like Zelda in general, the Triforce, the cycle of hatred and all that kind of stuff. That was just a time loop me. I'm getting owned right now. We will actually be finally talking about the Dead timeline too. But yeah, Skyward Sword, all that stuff we just displayed happens, and then, you know, Link and Zelda go to Hyrule. They build their own, like, Hyrule now. That goes into the Minish Cap, which is still a very small kind of, like, town, very local and all that kind of stuff. We had the origin of the Four Sword and all that kind of stuff. So then we have Four Sword Adventures shortly after that, just because it does make sense there, it's nice. We have Ocarina of Time. Just ignore the thing at the bottom for now, okay? We had the split timeline that we talked about with Wind Waker and Phantom Hourglass. They go and find a new Hyrule, and then that Spirit Tracks. We continue on with the child timeline with Majora's Mask, and then we go into Twilight Princess. They really didn't know where to put Four Swords Adventures, so they put that after Twilight Princess, because I guess there's this one thing that I haven't really explained properly this entire time, is that, like, how do I put it? How the Triforce is very important, and I actually forgot to put a game in here, but that's fine. It's okay. We can actually put it in later on. But basically, how do I put it? In some games, the Triforce is all the way fully together. Some games, you know, it's separated. So like in Twilight Princess, the Triforce is separated. It never goes back together again. So Four Swords Adventures doesn't touch on the Triforce, so we can really just put that there. The same, like Phantom Hourglass and Wind Waker is just done with the Triforce altogether. It's not showing up again unless there is another, like, Zelda game that focuses on the adult timeline. I doubt it does. And now finally, we get to the Fallen timeline. Because there wasn't any way to describe where A Link to the Past and Link's Awakening goes. They just made a new timeline where Link dies. It's just an alternate reality where Link dies, and because of that, the imprisoning war happens. And that's it. That's just how it happens. Link dies, Ganondorf is still very powerful. The sages seal him into the Dark Realm, and then a Sacred Realm, which then gets corrupted into the Dark Realm. Then A Link to the Past Link basically has to fight a powered up Ganon from Ocarina of Time, who's probably just gotten, like, lazy and greedy over the past years. And, you know, close enough. Close enough. I've been saying a lot of words together the entire time. And then, you know, A Link to the Past happens, Link's Awakening happens. In this, like, timeline, like, presentation, the Oracle games are supposed to be in the middle of this, but we know, for example, that it's supposed to be after Link's Awakening at this point. And I forgot to add them there. But, you know, Legend of Zelda comes after Oracle of Seasons and Ages, with a new Link and new Zeldas and all that kind of stuff. You know, it just works that way. Stuff like Zelda's name kind of just doesn't work anymore, like the Legend of Zelda, basically. It's just been kind of ignored at this point. It's just a cute little story explanation as to why Zelda has a name, but it hasn't really stuck around for any of the other games, especially because, like, The Legend of Zelda is so late in the timeline now. So why do we have the Fallen timeline? Because, you know, both A Link to the Past and Wind Waker were supposed to be sequels to Ocarina of Time. While they tried to find a suitable replacement for, like, the imprisoning war for A Link to the Past, they never just found one. So it's easier to make an alternate reality to explain this. As a kid, I was, like, really grumpy about this because, like, it was, why did Nintendo get to make up an entirely new timeline to explain everything? But as an adult who understands the production angle of, like, making video games and all that kind of stuff, it makes a lot more sense. And especially finding out about all the meddling that Miyamoto did, this is probably, like, the least intrusive way to explain the entire timeline to people who actually care about this kind of stuff. So, we do have the official timeline sorted out. But this game came out in, like, this book came out in, like, 2017 or something, meaning that we have a couple of games to get through first. So, instead of stopping to see what a timeline is like after a couple of games, we're just gonna quickly go through, like, the summary of each game, kind of say where they are supposed to be, and then come back to them all later with an actual big timeline at the end. So, we have A Link Between Worlds, which is just a homage to A Link to the Past. It follows a new Link, a blacksmith's apprentice, who is accidentally brought into the entire conflict when he needs to deliver a sword to the captain of the guards. Link finds the captain at the sanctuary shortly before a mysterious sorcerer shows up, called Yuga, who attacks and turns the captain into a painting and kidnaps the priest's daughter. Link tries to help, but is knocked unconscious and is saved by a mysterious man called Ravio, who suggests that Link should go and report this to Princess Zelda. Actually a smart idea. He does so, and Zelda, upon recognizing him from her dreams, tasks him with helping her. It is eventually revealed that Yuga is from a different realm called Lorule, that is on the verge of ruin because their version of the Triforce has been destroyed, and basically the Triforce is needed to make sure the world actually continues. So that sucks. So Yuga takes the Triforce from our world, and not to make stuff better. He just takes the Triforce, specifically the Triforce of Power, kidnaps all the sages who are descendants from the ones from Ocarina of Time and A Link to the Past, to basically fuse with Ganon and become all-powerful. Hilda, the Princess of Lorule, helps Link with saving all the sages. I won't say anything else about this game because I do think it's a very cute game that other people should experience as well. This game showcases how land like Hyrule would suffer without the Triforce. It's also very interesting because this is the only time that Ganondorf himself is victim to another person's schemes. You just expect the Ganondorf to take over, but I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, Yuga is always in control of Ganon. And I think that's pretty cool. I mean, there's other ways for it to play. Yarhar. Triforce Heroes takes place in the fashion-forward land, or Tytopia. The kingdom's Princess Stella, finds herself cursed to wear an immovable, ugly jumpsuit by an evil, sorceress lady, basically. In her misery, the princess isolated herself as the rest of the kingdom wept for her fate. Tears of the kingdom. her father, King Tuft, sent out a notification to kingdoms near and far asking for heroes to assemble, promising a great reward. A prophecy is within the kingdom tells of Triforce heroes, basically, who are described to have pointy ears, sideburns, and side-parted hair, who all come together to form a totem. Yes, the fashion-forward Hytopia. What's so confusing about that? It makes perfect sense. It's supposed to just be a fun spin-off game. It's not supposed to be taken too seriously, but also at the end of this game you find out that this Link that you've been playing is the Link of the Link Between Worlds. Yeah, there's a lot of cute outfits in that game. You should look it up at one point. And then we have Hyrule Warriors. Actually, I didn't actually say where the other two guys were in the timeline. They're set after A Link to the Past, basically, in Oracle games, but before Legend of Zelda and Adventure of Link. Okay, now Hyrule Warriors. Long ago, Ganondorf was defeated and his soul split into 4 pieces. 3 of them were sealed within 3 moments of time, but the 4th one was in the actual Master Sword. Ganondorf plots his resurrection through Sia, a sorceress that protects the Triforce while maintaining neutrality. She basically becomes obsessed with the spirit of the hero of legend, the hero spirit and all that kind of stuff, providing Ganondorf as an opportunity to basically corrupt her and expel all the light that's within her. As a result, she is consumed by her desires, and opens the Gate of Souls, a portal to different times and places, to basically summon a whole bunch of monsters to conquer Hyrule and take over, basically get the Triforce back, and then Ganondorf will appear and take over his like rightful throne or whatever and all that kind of stuff. Hyrule Warriors is actually really cool. Yeah, I agree, it's not a guilty pleasure like there's like some really bad Warriors games, but Hyrule Warriors loves, like, it's really well made, it's fantastic, it loves its characters and all that kind of stuff. It's not actually canon, but it does explore all 3 timelines in either the actual main story or the DLC, meaning that this would probably go after all the like actual Zelda times, like the Zelda games before this one. So I would put that, like, you know, at the end of 4 Swords or something like that. 4 Swords Adventures, I mean. And then, finally, Breath of the Wild. We're almost there. We only have a couple more games to go now. We're almost at the end of the timeline. 10,000 years prior to Breath of the Wild, machines were created called Guardians, and were successfully used by another hero and another princess to defeat Calamity Ganon. But throughout the ages, knowledge of this ancient technology was lost until evacuations in Hyrule Kingdom brought them back to life once more. The Guardians were reactivated and 4 hero champions were chosen to control Guardian Beasts, which are basically like giant versions of the Guardians. The Zelda of this game, was unsuccessfully trying to gain her access to her own prophesied powers, you know, like the Hylian powers, basically. And she was accompanied throughout this entire adventure by her knight, Link. When Calamity Ganon struck, that's basically what they call Ganon from now on, is Calamity Ganon, by the way. It devastated the kingdom because they took over the machines and made himself actually control it. That was the Ancient Stone Tablets. As a last resort, Princess Zelda was able to place the gravely wounded Link in the Shrine of Resurrection and use her newly awoken powers to trap herself with Calamity Ganon in Hyrule Castle. Go to the next slide! Link awakens 100 years later, fully healed but without any memories. He is guided by the ghost of the previous king of Hyrule and tasked to find the Emperor of this game. Emperor tells Link of his past and how, to this day, Zelda continues to prevent Ganon from doing any more damage to Hyrule. The two of them are locked in a constant battle for like 100 years. That's just really cool of her. She's trying her best. Link goes on a quest to investigate what happened to his former companions and defeat Calamity Ganon himself. This game is a soft reset to the timeline. It's supposed to be set like thousands of years after all the other Zelda games, and it also contains a whole lot of information from all 3 timelines. It's kind of like implied there might be a merge of the timelines or not. It's just hand-waved, and like, I mean it in the best way possible, and good riddance that they do that, because like, I love the timeline, but they do get a lot of like stuff really complicated because of it. So having like a reboot, a soft reboot, I think is a good idea. Yeah, ironically this game has the most connections with the first game of the timeline, Skyward Sword, because there's hints to Fi, there's Hylia's power, and all that kind of stuff. It's mostly because the person who directed this game also directed Skyward Sword, and I also believe that I will explore a bit more in the future. They're supposed to be bookends of the same story, basically. But before we get there, Cadence of Hyrule, a surprising crossover. The Kingdom of Hyrule is plagued by a mysterious man named Octavo, using a magical loop to put the Hyrule's king, as well as Link and Zelda, to sleep. Cadence, from the crypt of the Necrodancer, is mysteriously teleported to Hyrule by the Triforce and manages to wake up Link and Zelda. The 3 work together to travel Hyrule to find and defeat Octavo's champions, to unseal the castle barrier to defeat Octavo himself. It isn't set anywhere particularly in the timeline, but it has the strongest ties to the Fallen timeline. I like to pair it with A Link Between Worlds and Triforce Heroes because, you know, that was the game that came out last with that kind of appearance of Link, and I feel like, I don't know, I think it's neat that Link would go through like a whole lot of like creative adventures. This is actually also probably my favorite like 2D Zelda game because Crypt of the Necrodancer was a game that I played a lot before Cadence of Hyrule, so this was like, I was so excited when this came out, basically. And now, Age of Calamity. It tells of an alternate version of the backstory of Breath of the Wild, a small guardian programmed by Zelda from the original timeline. Yes, you heard me. Here's Zelda's desperate plea to protect everyone and travels back into time to prevent the calamity. It meets up with Link and Zelda, and because the little robot warns them about the impending doom, it creates both like new problems for the new timeline and also fixes a whole lot of other problems. It's not quite fun canon, but it's very funny that technically we have another split in the timeline so soon after they rebooted the entire timeline. And then lastly, we have Tears of the Kingdom. We don't know much about the game. It's coming out in 2023. No, I can't remember what it's called. But it's supposed to be set after Breath of the Wild. It probably has something to do with the light vessels and collecting tears to revive the thing. It's also probably gonna cover the mysterious tribe called the Zonai, which kinda show up in Breath of the Wild, but kinda don't. It's also very likely to bookend the story of Skyward Sword. Skyward Story is what I wrote instead of Skyward Sword, but you know what I meant. It's like, it's not really said anywhere, but I feel like that's where they're going with this, and it would make a lot of sense because, again, it's the same director as Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild, and he's in charge of the actual story. So I feel like this is the end of, like, it's kind of a trilogy, but not. So I feel like this game is just gonna talk more about I mean, yeah, kinda. I was writing like the Twilight Princess part of the entire presentation when the whole, like, you know, thing happened, and I was like, oh god, I need to talk more about Twilight Princess now because there's light vessels in the game. I hate it. Okay, Hamelin, what are you gonna say before I get to the next slide? Okay, next slide. Ba-ba-ba-ba! We're at the timeline! The actual complete timeline! At the start of the timeline, the goddesses create the Triforce and Hyrule and leave it behind to a protector called Hylia. There's an evil demon king called the Mind who wants to have the Triforce, but Hylia prevents him from having it. She defeats the Mind, seals him away, and then reincarnates herself into a mortal form. Skyward Sword. That's Zelda is swept into the surface land, and Link goes to go and find her. Zelda gets her memories of Hylia back, and the two of them try to work together to defeat Demise once and for more. At the end of the game, they make their own new kingdom, which is eventually known as Hyrule. The Minish Cap. Well, we have the story between the Minish Cap with the Hero Man, where they seal away all the evil, and then Vani shows up and messes all that up. We find out that there are descendants of Zelda who still have the Hylia's power in her with the Light Force, and we defeat Vani and create the Four Sword. The end. We get Four Swords, which is just, you know, a little side story with the Four Sword and the body and all that kind of stuff. And then we have Ocarina of Time. We all know how that works at this point. The timeline gets split. We go and have a fun Hyrule in Wind Waker and Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks and all that kind of stuff. There's a new land. And then we also have like the kids timeline where we go on with Majora's Mask. Ganondorf is executed, but also just sealed away into the Twilight Realm. And then the whole events of Twilight Princess happens. The Mirror of Twilight is destroyed, all that kind of stuff. And then we have Four Swords Adventures, whereas for once it's actually a new Ganondorf and all that kind of stuff. Showing that, you know, Ganondorf actually does get reincarnated as well in the cycle. Then we have the timeline where Link dies, and we get a Link to the Past and Link's Awakening. And then shortly after Link's Awakening, we also get the Oracle of Seasons of Ages. You know, the different Links that go on the different adventures and saves the world. Good for them. Did I forget the Legend of Zelda again in this timeline? This is what I get for typing this at the 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm a fake Zelda fan. Anyway, we have a Link Between Worlds and Triforce Heroes, and then we're supposed to have Legend of Zelda and Adventure of Link there. And then like many years later, we have Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, which might be basically the end of the timeline. Yeah, so there we go. That's the official timeline. And this is how I think the timeline looks like with the non-canon games. Let me explain some things. So I put the Wand of Gamelon, the Faces of Evil, after Spirit Tracks. I do that. It's over there. Soul Calibur is there. I do that because Spirit Tracks is supposed to be an homage to Link's Awakening. So we actually finished this playlist of music. This playlist was too short for my entire Zelda presentation. 1 second. Okay, now we're back. Basically, yeah. Phantom Hourglass is supposed to be an homage to Link's Awakening, so I thought it would be cute to put Wand of Gamelon and Faces of Evil as their own separate Link and Zelda, because this Link and Zelda's lands seem to be entirely in islands in the places that we go. So like, you know, the countries that we go to in the other 2 games are just islands. And I also just wanted to separate the games for funsies. Yeah. And then we have the Cadence of Hyrule. I just put it there because it just actually makes a lot of sense. That makes it technically that there's 2 Impas in that series of games, but at this point we've had 2 Zeldas and 2 Links. Let's have 2 Impas. It's fine. I also put the Game & Watch Zelda and Zelda's Adventure in the middle one because the way that I see these games as Hyrule goes on, the lore of Ganondorf and how he's created gets more and more faded, and it just gets a little weird as the timeline keeps going, kind of things. And then we have Hyrule Warriors. Let's say that magically merges the timelines together just to make it easier. And then we have Age of Calamity, which is obviously not a canon timeline. And I put Soul Calibur 2 there because it's the non-canon but canon Zelda timeline is what I'm calling it. So we can technically put like Soul Calibur 2 Link as Ocarina of Time Link, or we can just make him into an original Link that is probably finally aligned with the timeline of Earth in whatever year that's made in Soul Calibur Land. Or something like that. That's how I went. That was my reasoning. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. Okay? But that's basically how I have it. I think it's so fun. This is basically how the timelines used to be in the past. It's just people would make new timelines, basically. They just make timeline theories and just see if it would work. If that makes sense. Like, they didn't really care if it was canon or not. They just like to make, like, arguments that they thought would work. And just debate it for fun. So that's why I was always a little bit sad that, they made an official one in the first place. Because it kind of really put a lot of, like, I guess, stoppage to the actual Zelda series. I kind of just like it how there's a lot of stuff in Zelda games that aren't really explained, and I think that's fine. I think that's just fine. And I think it's just fun to try and think of a reason for it and it not to be officially like confirmed or denied, because like the hero spirit thing, like having Twilight Princess and Ocarina of Time Link being related, even though that was also confirmed, I just counted that as canon beforehand because I just thought that was a neat theory, and it's just fun to like think of like stuff that works and doesn't work within the Zelda timeline. But this has been the entire Zelda timeline. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. But this is the end of it. I hope I've explained everything well. It's a very good image, isn't it? I thought it was a good, appropriate ending. This was made for Breath of the Wild at the end because, how do I put it? As this game was supposed to be a soft reboot of the entire Zelda series, they wanted to do like an homage to the end of like one era to another. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope you all had a lot of fun. Is this the clap? Is this how you're clapping? I do like this. It was really fun just to look at everything again. I am a big Zelda fan, and I hope that you've learnt something and you had fun with this, because I had a lot of fun. But my throat is dying. Oh yeah, he's definitely gonna chuck that sword at someone. I do. Thank you. I wouldn't mind doing something similar to this in the future, especially towards the Tears of the Kingdom. I was thinking of maybe just replaying Breath of the Wild and maybe just exploring the stuff that might be in the new game, especially if there's a couple of new I'm not doing Final Fantasy. Here's my one Final Fantasy timeline fact. Final Fantasy X actually has the character that ends up in the Final Fantasy VII world. His name is Shinra. He just builds a spaceship at the end of Final Fantasy X-2 and just goes to the well of Final Fantasy VII, and that's it. He just develops Shinra, the company, the evil company, and that's the only thing that connects it. No! No, Toes! Well, we'll figure out what we're doing next another day. I think for now, let's see who we can go to. Let's go to Ty. Everyone, thank you very much for hanging out. Let's talk later. I'm gonna have a big rest now. Thank you very much. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Mwah, mwah, mwah.